It was a quiet Sunday night, August 15th, 1971. Millions of Americans were watching television, unaware that history was about to change forever. Then President Richard Nixon appeared on screen, calm, confident, but behind his words was an economic earthquake.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold.
With that single sentence, the world's financial foundation cracked. Gold, the metal that once ruled empires, determined wars, and measured wealth for thousands of years, had just lost its power. To understand what really died that night, we must go back to a time when money wasn't paper, it was power. In ancient Egypt, gold was more than a metal. It was the flesh of the gods, rare, eternal, untouchable. The pharaoh's wealth shone brighter than the desert sun. Later, in Lydia, modern-day Turkey, the first gold coins were minted. Small discs of pure value that people could hold, trade, and trust. Gold didn't rust, didn't rot, didn't disappear. It was nature's promise, a symbol that never lied. Every great empire that followed, Rome, Byzantium, the Islamic caliphates, Spain, Britain, built its power on gold. Armies marched for it. Kings died for it. Civilizations rose and fell, depending on how much gold their vaults could hold. When gold flowed into Rome, the empire thrived. When it drained away, the empire crumbled. Gold was more than money. It was civilization's heartbeat. But gold was heavy, and the world was growing fast. So humans invented something lighter. Promises, written on paper, backed by gold stored far away. This note certifies that you can redeem it for gold, the bank said. People trusted the paper because it represented the metal. But trust can be dangerous. By the 19th century, paper money was everywhere, and so was temptation. Nations realized they could print more notes than the gold they owned. It worked until the world went to war. World War I changed everything. Governments printed oceans of money to fund their armies. Gold reserves vanished as countries suspended the gold standard. After the war, they tried to return to gold, but the world had changed. Economies were fragile, debts enormous, and trust in money broken. Then came the Great Depression. Banks failed, people lost everything, and gold once again became the ultimate safe haven. In desperation, President Franklin Roosevelt did the unthinkable. He banned private gold ownership in 1933. The government took the gold and gave people paper in return. The illusion was complete. After World War II, the world gathered in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. 44 nations agreed on a new system. The U.S. dollar would be backed by gold, and every other currency would be tied to the dollar. America had 2/3 of the world's gold. The system worked for a while. But as decades passed, America spent more than it earned on wars, aid, and expansion. Dollars flooded the world, far more than the gold beneath them. Other nations began to ask, can the U.S. really pay all this in gold? The answer came in 1971.
President Nixon called it a temporary measure, but it was never reversed. The gold standard was dead, and a new era had begun. The era of fiat money, currency backed by nothing but government promises. For the first time in history, money was completely detached from reality. Nations could print wealth out of thin air. Inflation became the new tax, and gold, well, it became just another commodity, no longer the foundation of power.
In the decades that followed, the world witnessed explosive growth. Skyscrapers rose, stock markets soared, credit expanded. But behind the glitter, something fragile was forming. An economy built on trust, not substance. The gold era had ended, but the consequences were only beginning. From the 2008 financial crisis to modern inflation, every shock reminds us of that night in 1971, the night we traded stability for flexibility. Some call it progress. Others call it the greatest illusion in financial history.
Today, whispers of gold are returning. Nations like China and Russia are stockpiling gold again. Investors flee to it in times of crisis. Maybe, deep down, humanity still remembers that real value cannot be printed. Because in the end, the story of gold is not about metal, it's about trust. And trust, once lost, is never fully restored.
On August 15, 1971, gold lost its power. But perhaps it was humanity that lost something greater. The anchor that kept our ambitions grounded in reality. So the next time you hold a coin, remember, it once ruled the world. And maybe, one day, it will again.
This is Finance Unfolded, where money meets history. If you've made it this far, you now saw a secret most people never see. The history of money is the history of power, and it's still unfolding. Subscribe now and unfold the next chapter.